Thank you, Ace. Good morning. So stop and think. We came into the world literally kicking and screaming, right? We were uncomfortable. We were cold, wet, or worse. We wanted things. We were hungry. We were scared. There were bright lights. We wanted that place back from which we had just come. And you know what? We kicked and screamed till we got it. If you stop and think, things really haven't changed that much. There are still things that we want now. But what we have learned is, with time, that we can't have whatever we want, whenever we want it, however we want it, without the help of other people. So I've got a couple of short, really classic, well-known ideas, each finishing with one word. I'll ask you to help me complete each of these two ideas with the single word that I think will be familiar to you. Here's the first one. The best things in life are, of course, they're free. How about this one? Less is more. You got it. Okay, I've got just one more. So over the many years, I've had the chance to work with managers and executives who, when talking about their companies, will inevitably say something like this. When talking about how to make their people and their companies more effective, they will say, we have got to get back to basics. You've got it. Okay, thank you. What I have for you today is free. I will attempt to say less rather than more. And I've got three basic ideas. They are perception, how we are perceived by others. Reception, how we are received by others. And then finally, value, the great equalizer, I call it. What it is of worth that we bring to, or perhaps create with others. About 30 years ago, I can remember the day, I was heading out in my car, getting ready to pick up a friend. We were heading out to play tennis. He jumped in my car and he threw something in my back seat. I said, what's that? He said, oh, it's something I think you'll just enjoy reading. I said, okay. Was he ever right? So that evening, as I began to read that book, he shared with me, I had no idea then how through the years, the core message, the central theme of that book would be something that I would really endeavor and work to adopt, to actually be. That core message, that simple single idea was this. In our dealings with other people, we should always think, act, and speak in terms of that other person's interest rather than our own. And in his classic best-selling book, Dale Carnegie taught us just how to do that. Well, here it comes. So here's what I want you to stop and think about. In those interactions with other people, have you ever had a concern about whether your idea might fail, you might be rejected? Well, why is that? Well, so often it's because we're really not thinking, acting, and speaking in terms of their interest, but rather in terms of our own. So my challenge for you is to do that. Just turn that around a little bit. Remember, we came out kicking and screaming. And for most of us, for the large part, that's still our orientation. Thinking about what we want and how we want it, rather than about the other person. 25 years ago, I can still remember, I had just learned the lesson of how the then chief executive of Scandinavian Airlines turned his company around from bankruptcy to learn and hear how he and his company returned from bankruptcy to profitability and success once again. Allow me to read for you a few words from this book, Moments of Truth by Jan Carlson. Last year, each of our 10 million customers came in contact with approximately 5 Scandinavian Air employees. And this contact lasted an average of 15 seconds each time. Thus, Scandinavian Air is created, 50 million times a year, 15 seconds at a time. These 50 million moments of truth are the moments that ultimately determine whether Scandinavian Air will succeed or fail as a company. They are the moments when we must prove to our customers that Scandinavian Air is their best alternative. So what's the lesson for us? I think it's primarily this. We are being defined in the minds of other people every moment of every day. And in those 15-second interactions to 30-second interactions, will largely determine our success in getting what it is that we want when we act in concert with other people. I've got a question or two for you. I would ask you to just think honestly to yourself. And if you can answer yes to one of these questions or more, just simply raise your hand. Are you facing a situation at work, at home, in school, in the community, for the team or club in which you are involved and participating, where you must persuade somebody to do something, to win somebody over to your way of thinking, to get the cooperation of another person, not necessarily for your best interests, but rather for their own best interests? If you have raised your hand, thank you. You can go ahead and put it down. So what I will tell you is that those interactions invariably will come down to how we think, behave, and speak in interaction with those people. Many of us know this by second nature, but for most of us, frankly, we have to learn it the hard way. Have you ever had an idea percolating inside you over a long period of time, to the point where it finally welled up and just had to get out? The eruption of such an idea happened to me about a year ago. I was asked to give a talk in the School of Business to a group of students on how to give an elevator speech. Ultimately, I agreed to do it and went on, and it was fine. But as a caveat, as a condition prior to doing that, I said, you know what, I won't give a talk on how to give an elevator speech. I will give a talk, though, on your personal moment of truth. That percolated idea that I had was simply this: your elevator speech is doomed to failure. Your sales pitch will crash and burn. Your call to action in your community, at work, in school, with a professor, will fall on deaf ears unless, and this is a big unless, you will think, speak, and act in a fundamentally different way than you ever have before. Here's really the point. Your moment of truth is not about you at all. Rather, it's about the other person. The sales and marketing disciplines have taught us that nobody likes to be sold, but everybody likes to buy. Stop and think. Do you like to be sold by some hard-charging, fast-talking salesperson? No. On the other hand, do you like to buy things? Stop and think. Think about your favorite food or drink, vacation, travel venue, fashion. How about your favorite hobby? How about that special gift for that someone or for you? Yeah, we all like to buy when we determine it's something that we want or need. So in dealing with other people, how do we determine what they want or need? There's really only one way. We have to ask them. We have to ask them. So tell me this, can you ask another person anything when you are trying to cram a 30-second elevator speech down their throat? You can't. None of us can. Perception. How we are perceived by others. Reception. How we are received by others. Value. The great equalizer. The worth that we bring or create with another person. 55 years ago, do you believe this? To this very day, 55 years ago to this very day, in a theater not unlike this one. The Sound of Music began its wildly successful run, 3.5-year run on Broadway. Oscar Hammerstein, the famed lyricist, who had just been diagnosed with stomach cancer, penned a note to the lead actress, Mary Martin, who was to play the role of Maria von Trapp. As she opened the note, she read these words: "A bell is not a bell till you ring it. A song is not a song until you sing it. Love isn't in your heart, isn't put there to stay. Love isn't love until you give it away." Students, ladies, gentlemen, please remember this fundamental truth. Your moment of truth really shouldn't be about you at all. Rather, it should be about the person with whom you are interacting, with whom you hope to influence, persuade, to do something that's in their best interest. If you will think, speak, and act differently in your interactions with those people, you will be perceived, you will be received differently than you ever thought possible. You will create with them value that is absolutely spectacular.